welcome to this week's episode of The Blithe and the Blind. I am Joy.
I'm Julie.
And well, we're the Blithe and the Blind.
Yeah.
In that order.
I'm the blind one.
It's true.
It's true. It's true. So this is a podcast where we find humor and irreverence in the ridiculous things in life. And there's so many things that are ridiculous in life. We try to find humor in most of them. So I will let you know, for those of you who are watching this recorded, we are recording this, but we're also live on Twitch for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, peeps out there, our randos in the world. I had a weird camera issue this morning, so I'm coming to you from the fisheye crappy camera, but it's a camera, so there's that.
We're back to 90s hip hop.
Yeah. What did you said, little Missy
It's like that Missy Elliott Fish Lens thing going on.
Yeah.
Don't roast me if that's wrong, okay? I can't remember who it is. I'm pretty sure it's Missy.
Right. And I am not sure where to look right now because I'm used to my camera being up high and it's like literally even with my face and it's odd. It's like Big Brother is watching.
And I will still avoid looking at the camera unless absolutely necessary.
So, yeah. So, for those of you who have watched previously, thank you. We appreciate it.
Welcome back.
Yeah. And for the new randos here, good morning. How are you? Hope
Drink some coffee.
Good. Yeah. I'm all about a coffee the size of your head. That's me. I love that. So, also it is Memorial Weekend for those in the U.S. of the A. Thank you for everybody who has served, who sacrificed, who put their lives on the line. So those of us in the U.S. can have some freedoms, and we salute you. We've got service members in the house, and we appreciate them very much. They deal with our crap on the daily, and we appreciate them.
And if you are in town or even just watching the 500 and getting hammered, we see you too.
Yeah, right. We also have family members out there, so be careful at the track for lots of reasons. But we have people working in the pit areas for a driver for the first time. That's pretty exciting.
Pretty wicked.
A big contingency of the fam is out at the track today. So I still say go sports ball. I've gonna say as an Indianapolis native, not quite, but close enough. I have never seen an Indy 500 race. I've been to qualifying. I've been to the Snake Pit area. I've partied down there, but I've never been to the actual race. So, but my eyes swell shut. So I'm allergic to trees. Yeah, I'm allergic to trees and the outside, and this weekend is the worst. So you're going to hear a lot of
weekend is what we're trying to say.
Yeah. So happy day. So last week we talked about, we said we were going to talk about journals and creative outlets and things. And both of us have an affinity of the journal, correct?
You more so than I think.
Yeah, I have been told mine is an illness. I've
also been told yours looks like the phone book, but you don't believe us.
Well, that's not a journal. That's my date book.
And it's made up of what?
Dates?
Journals.
Well, sort
of. You literally put journals together.
Sometimes I do that.
The date book.
I do.
It looks like the freaking yellow pages.
Yeah. So I please hold while I grab the evidence. So I created and I whacked my mic. Yeah. So I created I whack my mic every show, y'all. It's a thing that I do because blind and I forget where my mic is. So my date book, this is my date book. It's ridiculous.
She was unprepared for me to bring it up immediately.
I feel like I've been personally attacked, but I created this. So it is patent pending copyright infringement. I'm not going to show you the inside because I created the inside, but I made this for me. It's larger print, of course, which is why it's a ridiculously large.
That's not why.
But it's 2 pages per day. That's why it's ridiculously large. because I have a 2 pages per day. But I have lists and things and stuff. But this one giant ridiculous thing that she's calling me out on. I just smacked myself with the elastic band too. You know what? I'm glad this is fun for you. Let the blind girl struggle with all the things.
It's very fun. Mostly because it's a creation of your own design.
It is. It is my thing, but it covers a lot. It covers like mood, habit tracking, some other things that I track because I have to. It has to-do lists. It's got some motivational things.
And meanwhile, your journals.
And I can journal in it. So like it takes the place of the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and sort of 4. Sort of and my date book. So 5 things. Right?
Wrapped into one so small package.
It's
for your convenience.
Yeah. Now also I can pull the pages out as I go.
Yeah,
Did you know that?
I remember.
Pages can come out. But
pages can come out of any journal if you try hard enough.
If you try hard enough. So it will get a little smaller as time goes on because I made the binding flexible.
It's true. It was impressive to watch her make, I'm not going to lie. But
I spent a weekend making a book is what I did a few weeks ago. Anyway, I'll show you the details on that later. But how many journals would you say you have? How many journals do you have?
It depends. Do you mean like journals or do you mean like notebooks in general?
I mean, just like stuff you write in. Like, do you know? Because I stacked mine up once. I think I did a TikTok on it early in the TikTok days. I did one because I took them all out to do things. And I got chastised, like ridiculously chastised by the bestie because she was like, you need a 12-step program. There's a problem.
I'd say I ballpark around like, depending just kind of on the time, about 5 to 10. Just because it's like I write things in different journals. Kind of depends on what I'm using it for, Because like for those of you who don't know, I do enjoy repetition. So sometimes I'll just like write stuff down like 4 or 5 times just because it makes me happy. It's just It's what makes it. I'll put it in a list and then I reorganize the list and then I reorganize the list, but then I put in a list that makes sense for other people. So
But I do that. I write my to-do list every day.
Yeah, I know.
Even though it may have. You. Yeah.
I learned it from watching you.
Yeah, it's just your brain on drugs. But I keep a mood journal.
That's a you thing, Chief. I do not do that.
I started this way back, going to the Wayback Machine. I started this one in 2019. And some pages are super cute, and some pages are super cute. Like my little January page. Cute. And then some pages just are terrible. They're just like, right? Like it's a little psycho. But I like doing something like this just because it really shows like, where was the crazy that day? Right? It's like, where was your mood when you decided to write like a serial killer that day? Right. But I like
that you wouldn't like it.
Yeah. I mean, I like a mood journal just because I didn't think I would. So I will say that was recommended for me to keep when I was very ill, right? Way back in 18. And I enjoy doing it. Now, do I do it every day? No. Do I have to catch up on things sometimes? Yeah. Is it 100% accurate? No, it's not. But I like a good journal. I like a good journal sometimes with prompts, not props. I love a good prop, but prompts. So like, I have a couple like this. This is not an advertisement. I just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all prompted, like it's very prompted, like, but it has similar things. So like grateful things and what are you going to do today kind of stuff.
I know what we're going to do today.
Yeah. But I like journals like that. But my affinity of a journal comes from that creative outlet that we talked about, right? Like I love to draw. You like to draw. We like to, as you can see, and she's got stuff behind her. I've got stuff all over.
Shout out to the girl. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, like we like to draw. We like to paint. We like to be creative. I have to be creative every day in some way. Do you feel that way? Do you know there's people who don't feel that way?
I do know there's people that don't feel that way, but you
Weird.
and I also, as much as we have similar creative outlets in that regard, I mean, we're similar on this too, but like I prefer, I don't know how to say it, like I prefer creative outlets that don't always require me to put in the effort of like, oh, I'm
Right.
drawing this, I'm writing this. Like I like to read.
Yeah.
Shocking, I know.
Yeah.
Grace, keep it to yourself. I know she watches.
Yeah. We see you, Grace.
I like to read, and to me, like anybody says that's not a creative outlet, you're wrong.
It is.
You are
It is
incorrect.
absolutely.
You are so incorrect.
Yeah.
I just prefer my creative outlets at times to be more like, okay, somebody wrote this, I'm going to let my imagination take it and go.
Right,
So,
right.
I mean,
but reading is amazingly creative because you get to make up what all those scenes look like, because we all have had that book or that play or that whatever that we read, and then we go see it and we're like, that is nothing like it was in my head. So I was like, or we've seen things and we're like, okay, that's pretty close, right? But
Percy Jackson movies,
yeah,
not close.
No, not even.
But I don't personally like the books. I do not speak for the brand or the company.
Right.
I personally just don't like them, but I know a lot of friends who do, and they get miffed about it. So,
but when I say creative outlet, like, because for me a creative outlet is anytime I can go put whatever pictures are in my head out into the world somehow. And what I mean by that is, like I like to build things and I like to paint and I like to draw, and not just paint like yes, I like to paint a canvas, but like paint and draw and doodle and make lists and journal, and I like to build things, and I like to
oh, you like building things? I wouldn't have known. How about you tell our dear viewers about your most recent creative outlet?
Well, we finished a project, did we not? We finished a project. And I say we, it's mostly me, and then I drag my family members into it. So a few years ago, I think it was about 3 years ago, we had this half wall when we moved into the house we're in right now. There's a half wall between the living room and the dining room. It's a very 70s house, very 70s house. So we took down about half of it.
Took down a quarter wall.
Yeah, we did. And then over last weekend, we took the rest of it down, and so opened up that whole room. So it's now living room, dining room, whatever.
To clarify, 3 years ago, we took down half of the half wall. We crudely put together end caps on it. We took the top of it and we just hammered it into the side so that the dog wouldn't hurt herself. Yeah. Nails sticking out.
Right. Because I didn't think it would be 3 years before we finished this freaking project.
3 years later, we finally got around to finishing it. Meaning last weekend, we finally got around to finishing it. But this time it was a new dog we had to be concerned about. Hurting himself on the nails for a hot second.
Right.
He's curious and he wants to know why there's a hole in the floor.
He was only interested in the electric.
It's true. He really
we kept him. No dogs were harmed. No dogs were harmed.
I may have had to spook him a little bit.
He was very interested in the wire sticking out of the floor. But we got it all taken care of. Now, having said that, the projects that that I like to do, they could be as simple as painting a wall. They could be, or the house, or they start small, right? Like my projects always start small, and then they somehow morph into this major.
Not even somehow. We watch it happen.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens. Because it's, for those people who clean rooms, like deep clean rooms, it's that time of year I deep clean a room pretty much every day. it turns into, oh, I cleaned this room and now I see everything wrong in every other room. Like all the things I need to clean. All of them.
You see it that way. The rest of
Yeah.
us are like, man, I deep clean this room. I'm gonna go make a sandwich.
Yeah. They'll complete something and be like, and I'm done. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How do you not see everything else?
Oh,
So
people see it, they just ignore it.
yeah, I can't do that, man. But I'm also a weirdo that when I clean a room, like I wish I could fully empty it, clean it, and then put it back.
I know. I've been there.
Well, you came in the other day after being
out.
out, and what'd you say? You came in the other day after being out with your friend, and you came in and you were like, I didn't want to turn on the light, but I couldn't remember where the furniture was.
I came in, so I was hanging out with a friend.
Because I moved it all.
One of my best friends, and since the remodel and the moving of the furniture happened just last weekend,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I didn't want to turn on the light because I didn't want to wake up the dog. I don't know how long he'd been asleep. I came in kind of later. It was after work. That's what it was. I came in later. It was after work, and I was like, I'm all greasy and sweaty because I work in a kitchen.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. And so I just start walking around with like my hands out and being like, if I run into something, I run into something, just trying to avoid the furniture. And then I remembered there's a flashlight on my phone.
Yeah.
So I turned that on the lowest setting and just said like, so the flashlight was facing up on the kitchen table and just kind of walked around.
Well, and you wouldn't think. I like our house isn't that big, y'all. This is not a McMansion by any stretch of the imagination. It's like a 1,200, 1,300 square foot house. It ain't that deep. So you would
yet the
think
furniture gets moved every month.
all the time. It gets moved all the time. Because I can't stand myself, which is, by the way, for a blind person, like the worst thing. It's the worst thing to do is move furniture.
She self-inflicts it.
Yeah, I do. And
laugh at her if she falls.
Yeah, so your brother, there are two chairs I keep running into, the table and the end chair, and then the big chair. I keep running into them. It's like I know they're there, but I forget they're there, and I back into them or run into them or whatever. And he watched me do it like 3 or 4 times yesterday, and he goes, you okay? You good? You get like you just ran into that chair and you just did it again. I know, it's terrible. Like I run into door jams, the door frames. I run into those all the time, and they don't move. Those dang things don't move. Yeah. So it's just I can always tell when my sight starts to shift. I run into the door frames more. So I've been doing that a lot, or when I'm really tired. So it's kind of interesting that I've been running into those. But yeah, it was like watching what did he call it? He's like, it's like watching a pinball machine. You just keep banging into the same 3 things.
See, and I was thinking, typically when you run into door jams, it's kind of like more of a clip, more than anything else.
Yeah.
But
like your shoulder.
Really solid, it looks like a toddler was running full speed at like a there and just bounce,
It'll be like watching AJ go to the glass door.
Oh, it'll be good. But creative outlet, she likes to remodel the house and then swear at the furniture when it's been moved,
because
she recently moved.
Let's be honest. I'm a before and after person. Like, you know what I'm talking about? The before and after people. Like, you see a good before and after, and you're like, look at that. That's so awesome.
I never noticed that about you.
I know. Well, they haven't. I posted some the other day of where we were, what the house looked like when we bought it. And it was stuck in the 80s. Am I right? It was so maybe 90s.
It was a lot of tan.
It had a lot of that poopy brown color. It had poopy brown color. It had mauvey brownish carpet everywhere.
A little more taupe.
Yeah, it had lots of deep greens, like foresty greens,
sepia tones.
Yeah, it looked like a throwback to the late 80s, early 90s everywhere. We had paneling that was brown. Like everything was dark. And now we're into, we've got grays and whites everywhere, or replace the flooring, all that stuff. But it turns into this really cool, look what we did kind of thing. And I think that's why I love a creative outlet, because you literally start with nothing and you make stuff. Like, how cool is that, right? Like I made, like, it's like you. I made you. Like, look at you. You're gorgeous. Look what I made. I mean, that was a long ass process, can I just say? But
I'd also like to point out you made something with so many defects it has to visit. You know, like the front defender, man. Like I just want that out there. I got a few things that could.
not all of you can't be winners.
We all can't be winners. Sprinkles are for winners.
Sprinkles are for winners. I mean, I got 4 of you. The chances are one of you was going to be a clunker.
That was a pretty good scrape at the bottom, though. You know, just really
Yeah.
got the rest out of that barrel.
And quite honestly, depending on the day, it depends on which one's the clunker. Am I right? Anyway, so yeah, I mean, creative process. So let's think about this. So during Christmas, holiday time, gift giving step, we both like to make gifts for people, right?
More often than not, it's cheaper.
So is it though? Is it?
Sometimes,
It's like,
yeah.
I mean, but think about it. You're like, look, I made this blanket for you, and people are like, oh. But I mean, people are better now. But when I used to knit and crochet and stuff,
give people a blanket.
yeah, I used to do all that stuff. And when I did all that stuff, and I would give it to people, people were like, oh, you made it, thanks. And now people are like, oh, that's so amazing, wow. Because I think people are starting to see the value in that. It's like, you know, I could buy this for you for $50, or I can make it for you for $50, you know. So I think that's cool. But I love making stuff for people. We've got some people that have holiday birthday stuff that we do every year. Miss Kathy, our friend of the show, every year we try to do something creative for her. She loves it. To my knowledge, she does. Tell us if you don't, Kath. It's fine. We don't have to.
Or just keep lying to us. Like, we're okay with that, really.
Yeah, I mean, we are. But she I think she likes her stuff. And I think it's more from the heart. I feel like it's a little more personal sometimes.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I mean, my friend, Grace, shout out, because I mentioned your name earlier, so you're kind of stuck with it now.
Hey.
She recently had been, you know, because I'm one of those people with my friends, I'm like, what do you want for your birthday?
Right.
Because it comes down to, I know my friends, but at the same time, I don't know, like, what their family might be getting them, what other people might be getting them. So, like, I'm just like, oh, so what do you want for your birthday? For the past couple of gift-giving events, then she's been like, well, I'm looking for home decor. So I just started buying, like, little signs at Walmart, little empty squares at Walmart, and, like, drawing stuff or doing dumb little things, you know, like, it's just stupid stuff that I'm like, yeah, well.
But is it? I don't think it is.
This picture's funny, so I'm going to just, here's a sign with it. I hand drew it, so it also looks a little more awkward.
Right.
Yeah. You know?
Well, but I think people like that kind of stuff, right?
Sometimes.
You know, I mean.
Some people don't. The people who don't can get over it.
Well, I mean, there's motivational signs, and there's something that's a little more meaningful in that, right? Like you guys, you and your friends, y'all all have plants and succulents and things and stuff, and you went through a period of y'all were painting planters and giving them to each other and that kind of stuff, which is really cool, because then you've got something that you can see every day, and that's really cool. As far as that goes, once again, creative outlets, they can all look a little different. We have your dad's got a friend who is a sculptor and a painter, and he's fantastically talented. Hey, Tara. Hey, Theron. Sorry.
Post on LinkedIn, bro.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I have a hard time calling you Theron. So, but he has made some stuff for your dad, and we love all of that. It's very personal and very cool. But it's just one of those that I know I need in my life about minimum of 30 minutes of something creative every day, or I feel like I'm so stuck in rigid mindset, right? And my little brain gets a little crazy. It's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's what it is.
Girl, I'll see you in the psych ward.
Right. So, and I know some people out there do that bullet journaling and all that stuff. So here's a question that I get asked a lot, right? Speaking of bullet journaling. So when I travel, I tend to take one journal with me. I tried not to take my date book, but I take a journal with me. Okay, maybe I take more than one. And my pen pouch. Yeah, and my pen pouch, and then I've got like these are travel watercolor paints.
They are kind of neat. I'm not gonna lie, I like those.
Yeah, I like these a lot. I would get another one of these. It's called a flip kit. I don't work for these people. It's not an ad. Anyway, so when I'm out, and I travel with my cane and I travel with people to help me see. But when I'm out and I'm journaling or doing or writing or painting or drawing, inevitably people are like, oh, you can see. I'm like, well, kind of. Like I can see colors and I kind of know what I'm drawing and that kind of thing. So it's very wild when I'm in the public domain and I'm doing something creative that they don't perceive someone with a disability should be able to do. Like, and I know you have hidden disabilities, but when you're around a group of friends and you're doing something that they don't perceive that you should be able to do.
You mean like eating buffalo chicken dip?
For breakfast?
Listen, I wasn't around friends when I did that, okay? It's around family. You're going to judge me anyways.
It's true. It is.
Yeah. I mean, my friends would too. I'm not
100% true. Yeah. So when you're doing things like that creatively, and I get questioned, there are times that I will stop what I'm doing, pack it up, and go. There have been times that I try to find the most secluded place wherever I am to be able to be creative, so I don't have to answer those questions. And I'm not a hideout person. I'm not a. I don't like to self-seclude. I like alone time. I like quiet time, but I don't like to hide in a corner to do something because then I feel like, why, that's that shame part. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not going to lie. No.
Oh.
But then again, I don't do a lot of the visible creativity out in public. If I'm doing something that just gives me like a creative outlet out in public, I'm probably reading something.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I don't care if I'm looking at my phone or my book, if I'm laughing out loud, if I'm just giving a smile, whatever. My favorite, I will say, sometimes if I'm reading on my phone, I like to read webtoons or have the Kindle app on my phone because sometimes I just forget to grab my Kindle. But it's funny to me when I'm on my phone and I'm reading and I'm like, if I'm smiling at whatever it's doing, it's like a funny part or it's just a part that you're like, oh, that's cute, whatever. If I smile at my phone, then every once in a while you get like elderly women who are like, oh, are you texting a boyfriend? And I'm like, no, but my girlfriend would be pissed if I was. And I just keep running because
yeah.
I mean, you know what, lady, you want to comment on what I'm doing, that's perfectly fine, but be prepared to be shook to your core. I don't have time for it, okay?
Yeah,
Make a comment to me, I will make a comment back. My comment may not be as nice as your comment.
Right.
Don't make snide remarks just because I'm on my phone and smiling at it. It literally just means I probably saw something funny on Instagram.
Yeah, well, true. So
but at the same time, I could just be reading and trying to ignore your presence. I do that.
Yeah.
Often.
So what I was talking about was like this book. I travel with this book a lot because it's got lots of empty pages and I can pull out the pages. They're all perforated and put them in other things, whatever. But so like I was on a ship and I was listening to a book and I was taking notes and just drawing and doing while I was listening to the book. Just random thing that I do. And so this gal came up to me and because I had my cane on the table and this gal came up and she said, I've been watching you on the ship. And I said, oh, okay.
Creepy.
Do you have questions or something? She said, you're not really blind. And I said, okay. And she said, because I've watched you. Number one, you're too good with your cane. Thank you. Number two, well, I practice every day. Number two, you're writing and doing a draw like I'm watching you. And I'm like, okay. She's like, why are you faking that?
Because I just think it's funny to make fun of the disabled.
Yeah. And I said,
please don't use that quote out of context against me in a court of law ever. I will fight you.
She's lying to you. So I'm like, yeah. So my question back, and I was like, number one, I don't have to justify my disability to you, but number two, what do you think blind looks like? Like, what does that mean to you? And she went back to the, you can't see anything kind of situation, which is what most of the population thinks blind is. You can see nothing. And I'm like, there's a lot in between being able to see perfectly, whatever that is, and not being able to see. And there are things that I do for me, and this is one of those things I do, and it's a creative outlet. But there's also why I'm off, shoved into a corner by myself. Like literally, I was my back was to a corner. Like you had to search me out, kind of thing. I said,
she's been watching you.
Yeah. And I said, and if you are truly watching me, you've also seen me run into things and people and tables and things. And she's like, well, I haven't seen any of that. Or, that kind of thing. And I'm like, well, then you aren't watching. But just
you ever been stalked on a cruise ship before?
Yeah. A lot, actually.
Never have I ever.
Yeah, I have. Right, I have a drink. But and I ask that because when you are creative out in public, when I'm creative out in public, whether people think I'm blind or know I'm blind or not, I tend to get questions. Like people like, oh, that's really cool, or wow, do you, what you working on? Like, do you get that? I know you get that. What you reading?
See, but people don't ask me about my disabilities because they can't see them.
No, what I'm talking about is when you're
nobody fucking asks me. Nobody asks me because they don't.
But when you're out reading or something, or when you are out and you are reading, or people ask it, what you reading, what you doing, what you
reading,
like,
is that good, what's it about? I'm like, you should read it and find out.
Well, or
my favorite response to
it's just to hold the book up, what you reading. It's like I do that
when I'm sitting there and I'm reading something. This is just one of my journals from it's from my sociology class. But if I'm sitting there reading something and somebody's like, what you reading, this is my response.
Right.
And I just keep reading.
Yeah.
And as soon as they ask me something else, I am not listening.
Yeah. It's
like not ask me again.
It's like living with Provincial Belle. Yeah.
It's like I still won't answer you. If I didn't even answer you verbally the first time, what makes you think I want to chat?
Yeah. Like I said, it's
the answer is I
Provincial
don't.
Belle. Yeah. No, she won't. She'll just hold the book up.
You were kind of asking earlier, like out with friends and stuff, because
yeah,
a lot of my friends know about at least one of my disabilities.
Right.
I'm a package deal, baby.
Yeah.
So for the price of crazy. So yeah. My best friends especially. My best friend when I hang out this weekend, she sent me a video of this little pop-up place that she wanted to go to. Mm-hmm. With the caption, with the message with it.
Yeah.
Can you eat anything?
Can you eat anything from here? Yeah.
Not even from here. It's just, can you eat anything?
Anything. Yeah.
Valid question.
Yes.
And within certain context, no.
Right.
So,
zero chance of possibility.
We had that conversation really quick. But sometimes I went to visit Grace for her birthday, and we went to this sushi place because honestly we were kind of feeling poke bowls, or at least I was.
Right.
She's kind of indifferent, so I was like, let's go get poke bowls.
Right.
I didn't think about it, and I put something with gluten on the bowl.
Yeah.
And it was a small amount of gluten. And dear viewer, I'm not necessarily allergic, but I really shouldn't eat gluten.
Right.
So I put some tempura flakes on it, and a couple other things after the fact. I was like, oh crap, there's wheat in that.
Yeah.
Didn't realize until about halfway through the bowl, and she was just sitting there the whole time, just like, isn't that gonna hurt later? And I'm like, yeah, but at this point, a minute.
Yeah, I committed.
So, I'll get questions about if I'm if I'm eating something, or I mean, I'm sure some of y'all out there get it. You know your friend is super allergic to something. They didn't ask if something has it, has that thing, and so you're like, oh, wait, but does that have this in it? I mean, sometimes my friends do that to me, and I'm like, that's fair, that's valid.
Well,
But
because there are times we forget to ask about sauces, or
I forget to ask about sauces all the time.
Yeah.
Fun fact: you can find tomato soup that's gluten free. I didn't realize it had gluten in it in the first place.
Right, and why? Well, flour as a I don't want to say congealer, but flour and
thickening agent. Yeah,
that's the one.
It's like cornstarch.
Yeah.
But I digress. But like when it comes to, I mean, creative outlets, my friends know I like to read. They don't question me about it. I will say there were because I lived with Grace for a while. There were times when I'm like, I'd try and let her know. I'm like, girl, it's gonna be a bad day,
Right.
And so sometimes I'd be sitting there, and it's like while I'm reading or doing or whatever. And then she's like, Are you good? Should you really be sitting like that? Are you gonna cause more issues? And I'm like, no, I'll be fine. Thank you for your concern, but I'll be all right, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, when I'm out in public, people just think I'm weird. So I don't really get questioned on things like that.
Sure.
Most I get is if I happen to be drawing out in public, which usually it's like a doodle or something, then oh, what you drawing? Or oh, why does that look weird? I'm like, well,
or whatever.
It's supposed to be funky. I don't know what to tell you, Chief.
So I tend to and I know you know this, but I will tend to work on a project that it'll start out, once again, it starts small. They always start small. So I will use my calendar as an example. I will make a list of things I want in a calendar and then try to go look for that. And then quickly realize it doesn't exist that way. So if there's a way to cut down on whatever, I'm going to try to create it. Right. And I think that's something that I know it's something I have. I think it's something you have a little bit of, and your father doesn't understand it at all, but I'm like, well, it doesn't exist. So I might as well just create it. Right. And at least that way I have what I want. So I'm just going to create it. And I know it took your dad many years to figure out, well, that doesn't exist. So she's just going to make it. she's just going to solve the problem for herself and make it. So do you ever feel like, well, it doesn't exist that way. So, or the way I want it. So I might as well just make it.
Yeah. That's why I started making some of the signs that are hanging up in my room. Y'all can't see it, but I got some more around this wall. Like it's on the side of this wall. Got a couple of signs hanging up. Cause like, I mean, in case you couldn't tell from my lovely background over here.
Yeah.
I like Critical Role. And I've been watching Campaign 1 again. I got into it when they first started airing it, kind of fell off. Things happened. I started rewatching it. Check it out if you haven't. But, it's a D&D podcast.
Not an advertisement.
It's a bunch of, not an advertisement, not a sponsor.
Yeah.
But it's a bunch of voice actors get together. They're friends, and they started at a home campaign, and then somebody finally contacted them and was like, hey, do you want to put this on the internet? And they were like, yeah, sure, why not?
Right.
And they've been doing it since like 14, 15, something like that?
Something like that.
So I've been watching it, and like I have a list of quotes that I just really like from the show. It's just, I like really obscure quotes.
Yeah.
As I've stated before, I have a really good memory, so I could probably give you the context of the quotes.
Yeah, I want to get your brother's quote up somewhere.
But the thing is, like, you go online, and because I like some of the weird quotes or some of the quotes that don't make sense necessarily out of context.
Yeah.
I can't find them on merchandise and stuff like that. Plus, even if you do find it, it's like, oh, on Redbubble you can get it, but it's this person's selling it on a shirt or a sticker for, the shirt is $40 and the sticker is like $3.94. Hey, great, and that's pretty cheap. I can buy it, but
and we're all for people making money.
And I'm about that, but at the same time, I don't have money.
Right.
So if I'm going to spend $5 on something and I can't find it anyways,
might as well make it.
I'll go spend $5 on a couple of charcuterie boards from Walmart that I just happened to see and use them, or I'll go spend $10 and get like a couple of like whitewashed plank signs.
Yeah.
That again, I can just use those and get it done, do what I want to on those.
Yeah, I wanna get Jer's Jerome, our son Jerome, our youngest son Jerome.
Her youngest son, my brother.
Well, I say R, it's a royal R's, and
I'm just clarifying for people who are weird out there.
Oh, that's right. We are not married, so that would be awkward. And illegal in most states. So yeah.
Well, except 2, I think.
Yeah. But he had a quote that came up. I don't know. It's been a few years.
It's been a couple years, yeah.
Yeah. Where he was talking to a friend. He doesn't even remember saying it.
They were playing a video game.
Yeah. And he said, hey, to his friend, he said, hey, friend. I'm not going to mention friend's name. Hey, friend. Listen, you do this every time. And then he goes, you don't have to make the right decision. There is no right decision. You just got to make a bunch of wrong ones really quickly. That's how you get through life. And we were like,
no. He just said that's how you get through it. Not life, it.
So I was like,
talking about a single part of the video game.
But it's so profound. It's so true. You don't have to, you get stopped at making the wrong decision because you're afraid. Don't be afraid. Just make a bunch of, you're going to make the wrong decision. Make a bunch of wrong decisions. There's no right decision. So yeah, I thought that was so profound. There's no right decision. Just make a bunch of wrong ones really quickly.
But yeah, so my creative outlet tends to be stuff like, oh, this quote that I found really funny that I've been thinking of forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and write that down because then I can put it up in my room somewhere, obviously.
I have a book of quotes. I have a journal book full.
It's not even just like, oh, these are just random whatever. It's like it's home decor now too. And it's not what you're thinking because everybody sees signs with words on it and they think it's some like live, laugh, love bull crap. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah. We're not live, laugh, love people.
But I do write it in a nice, like in a very nice script. So that way you think it is a live, laugh, love and you don't bother to read it. So
yeah,
that always helps.
Because you have the indifference one, that quote. I like that one.
Your secret is safe with my indifference.
Yeah.
Thank you, Taliesin Jaffe. Appreciate you.
Right. So.
But I mean, like I said, I tend to do creative outlets more on the side of like just more on the vein of, especially in public, like I'll go read a book.
Yep.
But I mean, for the most part, if I'm out and about, if I'm out in public, I'm doing something. So most of my creative outlets are at home,
Yeah.
Because the other thing is I'm so sick of going out somewhere and trying to read a book and having somebody come up and want to strike up a conversation about it. Only because, one, you're probably going to spoil the book for me.
Yeah.
People are very bad about that. Cut it out. And two, I very obviously came out here to read my book.
Yeah.
Like I'm literally just sitting here with a coffee and a book. And like I may have headphones in, they might be playing something, they might not be. You don't know.
Yeah, I do that on planes. I will put my earphones in. If you ever see me on a plane, chances are very high that I don't have anything playing on my earphones. They're just in my ears. So
talk to her if you see her on a plane.
Don't talk.
Do it.
Nope.
She's not listening to anything anyways. You heard it here first.
I have only really talked to a couple people on planes in the last however long, and one was your father.
Okay, to be fair, you yelled at him. It wasn't really a conversation. You yelled at him.
It was a one-sided conversation, but he had a medical moment on a plane, and I yelled him out of it. Is what he said. I quote nagged him to become alive again. So
conscious.
That is a story for another time.
The consciousness.
I did. I yelled at him, and he,
yeah. Like I said, I mean, I know. I don't face the same, I guess, criticisms that you do if I am being like creative publicly, just because again, people don't know that I am technically disabled. You know, like people don't know that I have disabilities.
Right.
They
Right.
just think I'm really freaking weird and I don't know what to do with my arms, which is true.
Also true. Yeah.
But I also
So-
talk with my hands a lot, so that freaks people out. And
Yeah, I do that as well, which freaks people out. In the restaurant discussion, we touched on that. I talk with my hands a lot, or I'll gesture, right? So, which is funny because it's one of the things that I fuss at people about, right? So, like when we're out and about, and I'm like, "Oh, it's over there," you know,
yeah,
or
it's a knee slapper.
yeah, and then they'll do that to me, but I'm like, well, I can't see that, but I do that to them. The restroom's to the left and it's past whatever, but I'm doing that while I'm talking, and they're like,
there are exits on all sides of the plane.
Yeah. But it's funny because they're like, why is she gesturing? And I'm like, because I know where I can see it in my head. I've not always been blind. I could see things, so.
Well, and it's like you said before, you can still see things anyways. Why you still write and doodle and do?
Yeah.
Doodly
But
do.
and I map things in my head all the time. So
It's true.
but not the furniture in our own house. So clearly
that is lost
still-
Forever.
It's gone.
If she learns the furniture, she loses
delete
her
button.
debt.
Yeah.
Can't push that out.
That was my favorite when your dad worked, when y'all were younger and your dad would work late nights.
Come home and trip over the furniture.
He was always like, God, I hated coming home late at night because I never knew where the furniture was going to be. So, yeah.
I'm
'Cause
sure
I would
I've gotten
randomly
in trouble
clean.
a few times.
Yeah, I would randomly, I'd randomly clean the room or whatever, and I would move things. So
You still do.
I do.
No, and like I mean, we touched on it briefly, but I wanted to go more into it, and then
Yeah.
kept moving. So
I'm sorry.
Reading as
Yes.
a creative outlet, I stand by it as a creative outlet because it's like, and I don't mean this in a derogatory sense, but it's a low effort creative outlet in my opinion. Granted, that's because it doesn't take a lot of effort for me personally to just read.
Well, it is for you.
I know that's why I said for me.
Yeah,
but
for
like,
your dad.
I know for some people it is, it's a lot harder to not even just like get into reading, but just reading itself is just harder. They can't get as engaged as quickly or whatever. Granted, the man shouldn't have been reading Anna Karenina. Should have realized sooner that there was.
Well, he was already in. He committed.
He should have realized in the first 30 pages
he did. He realized his mistake, but he was already in, and he was going to finish it.
That hurts me deeply.
It's your father. He's a committed man.
But what I'm saying, for me, it's like a low effort creative outlet because again, I can I can see the character. I mean, I have background noise. I'm gonna throw that out there. I can't always work without background noise.
Mm-hmm.
So the TV is on or the music's playing or something. There have been times where the TV is on and I'm reading something. And it's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom or whatever. Put the book down, walk back. I come back and I'm looking at the TV. And I'm like, oh, this is the episode where this happens. And I'm like, no, that just happened in the book. Hold on.
Right.
So I'm like, I have to reset for a second. Just if I'm starting to pay attention to the TV instead.
Mm-hmm.
Other times I'm just sitting there and I'm like, no, I'm diving back into this book, man. Typically that's the option.
Yeah, you and I had a discussion not long ago where I think we both can do this, and not everybody can, but we can read several different books at the same time.
I have 10 going right now.
Yeah, I have a few going right now, and I have 2 that are audiobooks, and then I've got one back in the bedroom. But that used to drive. I had a very dear friend that would drive her crazy. She's like, you read a book and you set it down and walk in the other room and then pick up the other book. What are you doing? I'm like, well, that's the book I'm reading in there. This is the book I'm reading in here. But she was like it would make her skin crawl.
See,
how do you know what's happening? I'm like, well, they're different.
Mine is different based on what I'm feeling, because I mean, yeah, some of the books that I'm reading are in the same genre, but some of them are different genres because it's no, I don't want to read fiction right now. I want to read an autobiography or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not a big fiction person.
The other issue I have though, this is going to sound stupid to people who don't get it.
Yeah.
If a book starts, if a scenario in a book starts giving me anxiety, I will put the book down and walk away.
Yeah.
3 of the 10 books I'm currently reading, I am about anywhere between 4 to 10 chapters from the end of it, and I know it. but it is giving me so much anxiety.
Well,
I had to put it down and I had to take a breather. And it's not anxiety like, oh no, blah, blah,
it's
blah.
not
But
put
it's
the
like,
Shining in the freezer situation.
it's
No.
no. It's
No.
not like, and because I like horror books.
Yeah.
I just like horror. I think it's
Right,
cool.
right.
Horror. But horror. But it's one of those where I'm like, I get so invested in the plot line that, for a second, I mean, some of us know it. You experience secondhand embarrassment for your character. It happens.
Yeah.
But
And
I have to put it down to come back to it, because even if I know where it's going to pick up, it's still going to be the same spot. But like, been able to breathe on it for a couple weeks now. I'm good. Let's go back. Let's finish this book. If I think it's going to make me cry, I put it down.
Oh, and on that note, I can't tell you the amount of times I've walked into her room and she is weeping openly, like a mess on the bed. And I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? What happened? She's like, I just need a minute. I just finished this book and I just need a minute. I mean, like broken down, like broken down.
Okay, it's like okay, listen. It is like when you watch Steel Magnolias and Beaches and all that crap back to back. You just
fried green tomatoes. It's the truth. That's the trifecta of crying right there. Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, you need a good cry. You need to go here. Granted, I need to be in the right headspace at times. Like
you'll need to continue on your personal device.
I shan't. But if I'm gonna be like, if I know it's gonna make me cry, and everybody who's ever told me, oh, I cried at the end of that book, I hate you so much, because I could have just kept reading it, but now I'm afraid I'm gonna cry at the end of it, so I gotta wait until I'm ready to cry to finish my book. Just let me finish my book.
She's an ugly ass crier.
It's not pretty.
There's no nice way to put it. Like, if she is in it and you walk past, now I walk past and your dad is like, what's the matter? And your dad's like, what's the matter with her? And I like, the book. It's the end of the book. Just keep going. Don't look her in the eye. Just don't look her in the eye. Don't look at it.
I do not cry in front of people. I know it's an ugly cry. I know it's
cool. I mean, it is like snot bubbles. Things are happening. She is fully invested
right there, and I still won't use it.
Yeah, like for example, and I say this with all the love in my heart.
Great.
If you ever doubt how avid somebody is, how avid of a reader, how voracious of a reader, how in touch with these characters people are, you need to watch Joy pack up her bookcase. She literally says goodbye to every book.
That is not true. I will
pack them together.
I will see you guys
later.
Them
away. She says goodbye as she closes the box. These are her friends.
Of course, I literally don't do that to every
book. And the only
I'm like, I'll see you guys at the next place.
But here's the thing, and I'm not making fun of it. I'm not making fun of it. I know
she makes fun of it when it happens.
Well, because it slows down the process. But these are boxes that should be done quickly and efficiently on your own. But no,
right.
But I don't need to watch it. And so, as somebody who needs to move the books, and I'm not saying that. I know it sounds curt and short. And here's my point in that: if you ever say to anybody that you are an avid reader and you are all these things, if you don't watch this girl pack and take great care with these like they are human beings, then you don't stand by your word of being an avid anything. Like, you can F off. I don't believe anything you have to say to me. So, and we have a couple friends like that. They're like, oh, you don't understand the power of books. Joy and I do. And I'm like, no, you don't, because you would throw that book into a box like most normal people. And I say normal with love. Normal's the setting on a dryer. There ain't no normal in this house.
I'm not normal.
None of us are. But most people pack books up. They tape them up. They put them on a stack and it goes. And this girl is like, these are my books.
My books go on top with my glass.
On my car.
The books go on top with the glass. Unless the only other thing in the car is the glass, then the books can go on bottom, because I don't want to shatter the glass. That's expensive.
Yeah. So these are like valuable heirlooms, and that will be handed down to whatever invisible children she has. But
no.
But I say that with all the love and laughter.
And I'm one of those.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm one of those weirdos that also, like, my dad, I'd say makes fun of me, but it's more like he questions my financial choices. because I have
we question each other's financial choices.
it's because I have a book and then the special edition comes out.
Yeah.
If I like the special edition, I'm gonna get it.
An autograph. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So if I like the special edition, I'm gonna get it. If the author is doing signed copies, I'll probably get that. Especially if I'm a fan of the author. Shout out Rainbow Rowell and John Green and Hank. I hope you're doing great, Hank Green.
Hey, Hank.
But like, it's
she'll have several copies.
Some people collect shoes. Some people collect stamps or trading cards. I like books, and I have like 2 to 3 copies of some books on my shelf.
Some people
Mom collects journals.
Yeah.
But like I have like 2 to 3 copies of each book on my shelf because 1, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
2, it looks cool. And 3, I'll still read it. And I'll let myself just kind of disappear from the world to read that book.
Yeah, it's true. It's
like,
true.
I don't know. That's my creative outlet. That's
true.
how I like to just, the world is gone.
It is one. I think it's your favorite creative outlet, but you have lots of others. But yeah, I think it's.
I like my Sharpies too.
Yes, that's where I was waiting for that to come up, and it did not. So what we may do is next week we'll talk a little bit more about specific creative outlets besides reading and journaling. But I think that's a good place. And if you guys have an outlet that we haven't touched on that you enjoy, whether that's like, macrame or sports ball. We don't know. I mean, I know about sports, but we don't sports, but some people do, and that's creative for them. If you like to, whatever you do creatively that makes you happy. For me, like I said, it's a great way for me to start a day. If I can do that, it puts my headspace in the right spot between coffee and quiet and focusing on something creative. That helps me a lot. But I think next week we can talk a little bit more about that and what it means to us, really. As far as
kind of dive into the specific other specific creative outlets.
Yeah, and why it means so much, and what that helps you do, and how that helps you de-stress or not, or what. So, or cry at the end of a book if that's what makes you happy. Yeah. So it makes the rest of us concerned, but it makes you happy. So yeah.
As soon as they see the book, they're fine.
Yeah.
And everybody just walks away.
She literally mourns the loss of the book sometimes. So.
If it's a good one, man.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So it's just disturbing for those around. So anyway, well, I think that's it for today.
Yeah, or at least it should be. Otherwise, we could keep going for hours. So.
I mean, we could.
But I got work to do. So
yeah, and I have a creative outlet to go deal with. So yeah, because more projects are on the way. So.
We do hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Yeah,
I mean.
I hope
you guys had a good time. Yeah, feel free to subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit us up in the comments again. Let us know just kind of some of your favorite creative outlets, or just even some of your favorite de-stressing activities.
Yeah.
And if as long as they're SFW, safe for work, then we might talk about them on the show. Because why not?
It could happen.
We can see how things are stress relieving for people.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely.
Like I said, just let us know because we'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, share, like, subscribe. You're waiting for me to say it, aren't you?
No, I'm just waiting for you to be done with your list.
No, so yeah.
You guys, hope you guys have a great next week of
short work week for some people. Yay!
Whoop. And then we will see you guys next week back here on The Blithe and the Blind.
See you guys. Bye.